Kalkadosh Eretov Masechet Menahot Daf Yomi Daf Tedvav Amud Aleph 15a1 says the Gemara. We were just talking about the Mishnah. You know what? Let's start from the Mishnah. The Mishnah Yudalad Amud Bet just says Nitmet Echad Min Hachalot or Echad Min Sedarim. Imagine right now you've got one of the Shtei Alechem or one of the Sedarim of the Lechem Apanim that became Tameh. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says Shnehem. Whether we're talking about the two Chalot of the Shtei Alechem. Remember, the Shtei Alechem is only two Chalot, right? Or the two Sedarim. Right? Yetzu lebet srefa. They're going to go out to the bet srefa. Remember, the shtei alechem was brought on Shavuot, and it was only 2 loaves of bread. Okay, and the lechem apanim, everyone knows about it. Right? She'en korban tzibur chaluk, because there's no korban tzibur, like for example the shtei alechem or lechem apanim, which is going to be chetzi kasher, chetzi pasul. Meaning, once it's a korban tzibur, they all 100% kosher, 100% not kosher. It cannot be chetzi chetzi. There's no such thing as chetzi chetzi. Okay, Chachamim come and they say, Atameh betumato ve'ataor yachel. What does that mean? The tameh is going to stay tameh, and the tahor is going to be eaten. So says the Gemara on Yudalad Amubet on the bottom. Amar Bilazar says the Bilazar. The machloket is talking about lifnei zrika, which is talking about before the zrikat of the dam, which means we're talking about that one of the two, right? The one of the two shtei alechem became tameh before the zrikat adam of the kvasim, which come with it. Which means on Shavuot you bring kivasim, and when you bring with the kivasim, you also bring the shtei alechem. Aval, however, though leachar azrika, if they already came and they already sprinkled the blood, ledivrei hakol, according to everybody, atameh b'tumato ve'ataor yachel. What does that mean? The tameh stays tameh, and therefore you're going to burn it, and the tahor, right? They're going to come and they're going to eat it. V'lifnei zrika b'may plige. So what's the machloket now? It's going to be before zrika. Saman of Papa tzitz menatzeh al achilot kamipalge. The machloket is, do we say that the tzitz is going to be menatzeh, right, on the achilot? What does that mean? When a korban, if right now a korban becomes tameh, right, and the part of the eating of it, right, so does the tzitz menatzeh that now it's not going to be me'akev the tumah, the avodah, right? So for example, whether it's going to be the chalot of the shtei alechem or the lechem apanim, so right, that became tameh. So you're going to say now that you can't do the avodah or not? Tedvav Amudalef on the top. Rabbanan Savre, the rabbis hold that tzitz miratzeh al achilot. The rabbis come and they say that the tzitz, remember the tzitz is a head plate, right? So this head plate is going to be miratzeh on tum'ah, which happened during the achilot. And therefore, even though one of the chalot became tameh before the zrikat adam, it's not going to start making a pogem, defecting the entire avodah of the zrika, but it's like you just come, it's a zrika gemura, and it's going to be matir everything else in eating. Rabbi Yehuda Savad and tzitz menatzeh achilot. But according to Shtat Rabbi Yehuda, he holds that the tzitz is not going to be menatzeh on the achilot. So Amale Rav Huna bered Rav Natan Rav Papa. Says Rav Huna bered Rav Natan to Rav Papa. Veha olin, right? And 1 second. When we are talking about the chalakim, the portions of the korban, which are olim, which they go up to the mizbeach, right? Everyone agrees that tzitz menatzeh al olim. Everyone agrees that whatever is going up to the mizbeach, the tzitz is going to be menatzeh on that which is going up to the mizbeach. Uplige, so when is the machloke then? What happens if you have a tum'ah on one of the bazichin? Remember that the lechem apanim had the 2 spoons of frankincense. It's called bazichin shel levona. So this levona, which is in the bazichin, right? If it became tameh, Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, Shnehem ya'asu betumah. The 2 bazichim, they're going to be done betumah, which means you're allowed to touch them, and there's no problem with tumah, right? Lefi she'en korban tzibur chaluk. Because again, as we mentioned before, there's no such thing as a korban tzibur, which is going to be chetzi kacha ve'chetzi kacha. En davar kazeh. It's either 100% kosher or 100% not kosher. Chachamim come and they say, no. Hatameh betumato, ve'ataor betaroto. The tameh is going to be brought betumato, and the tahor is going to be brought betarato, which means they're not allowed to touch each other, right? You're not allowed to touch each other. So therefore, you see from here that the levona is part of the things which are olin, and still we said that the right we spoke about is the tzitz going to be meratzeh when it became tameh or not. So it comes out that the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah, right, that he said that when one portion is going to be tameh, so the entire korban is tameh, is because the tzitz is not meratzeh lachilot. So therefore, according to that, how could he now say right, that it is going to be, that everyone agrees to tzitz menatzeh achilot? How does that work? Basically, do you say that the tzitz, the head plate, is going to be menatzeh? Menatzeh means it makes it like ratzui, it makes it like wanted, right? Do you say it's going to be menatzeh al achilot or not? Ve'od, and another question. Amar Rav Rashi. Tashema Rabbi Yehuda says, Afilu shevet echad tameh. Even if you have one entire tribe that they're tameim, v'chol hashvetim teorim, and everybody else is taor. Yasu betumah. They're all going to do the tumah, the Pesach betumah, right? Everyone together. Lefi shein korban tzibur chaluk. Again, because you don't have a korban tzibur, which is going to be chetzi kacha v'chetzi kacha. Ve'hacha, and over here, maya tzitz menatzeika. Where's the tzitz menatzeh? Here we're talking about an entire shevet. It's tumat guf. It has nothing to do with the korban. So therefore, what does that mean now that you're going to tell me now that it's going to be miratzeh or not miratzeh? Has nothing to do with it. Okay, so he says, ve'od, and a third question now. Hamar Ravina is going to say, Tashema, nitmet achad min hachalot or achad min hasedarim. Rabbi Yehuda omer, shnehem yetzu lebet tzrefa. Everything goes out to the bet tzrefa. Lefi shein korban tzibur chaluk. Chachamim omrim, atamim tumatov l'tariyeh achel. Ve'im itana, if you're going to tell me like this, bet of Rav Papa, that the reason why is because there's no korban tzibur chaluk, that there's no such thing as chetzi in a korban tzibur. Lefi shein tzitz meratzeh al achilot mibaile. You should have told me mefurash that not because en korban tzibur chaluk, but rather because en atzitz meratzeh al achilot. That's the reason. Meaning, if you're going to tell me that the svara, the logic is that the tzitz is not going to be meratzeh al achilot, tell me. Why are you telling me no? Because there's no such thing as a korban tzibur, which is chetzi. How does that work? Ela rather, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Talmud Aruchu befiv shel Rabbi Yehuda she'en korban tzibur chaluk. You're right. This is actually a Gemara mefureshet, Talmud Aruch. It's already brought down, as if to say. Yeah, Talmud Aruch. Okay, that what? That according to him, he comes and he says, en korban tzibur chaluk, and therefore once it becomes chelek, becomes pasul, everything becomes pasul. Okay, right? That's everything. Meaning it's all or none. Right? According to him, there's no such thing as chetzi. It's either everything or nothing. Okay? Says the Mishnah, Tedvav Amud Aleph, the Mishnah, HaTorah mefagelet et halechem. Right? The Todah is going to be mefagelet, right? The lechem, which means if a person had machshavav pigul, that's a mefagelet, right? Pigul, right? Et halechem. So now, he had a machshavav pigul by the korban Todah, so it's going to make that also the lechem is pigul as well. Okay? Sha'ochlo chayav karet. Right? Ve'alechem eno mefagelet to the. But if you had it on the lechem, it's not going to make it to the todah. So one more time, you bring a korban todah, which what we say means mole todah, right? When you bring a korban todah, with the korban todah, you bring 40 chalot, right? 10 chametz and 3 different types of matzot, right? 3 different types of 10 of matzot. Okay, fine. What happens now is that if I had pigul in mind for the korban, so the bread also becomes disqualified. But if I had pigul for the bread, it does not disqualify the korban. Keitzad. So let's see, what's the case? Shachat et hatodah le'echol mimena lemachar. You did the shchita to the todah to eat it tomorrow. Vehi ve'lechem mefugalim. So that's a case where the korban and the lechem pigul, and therefore if you're going to eat from it, right? It's going to be chayav karet. Le'echol min halechem lemachar. If it's going to be that you're going to eat, do the shechita, to eat from the bread tomorrow, only the lechem is pigul. But the todah is not pigul. Because you didn't have anything wrong with the korban. It was only just the bread. Okay. Next, akvasim. Right? Remember, we were always referring to the lechem apanim. Right? The lechem apanim, or we were talking about now the korban lachme todah. Now we're talking about the shtei alechem. הכבשים מפגלין את הלחם, והלחם אינו מפגל את הכבשים. So the same halacha applies to the כבשי עצרת. On עצרת, what's עצרת? שבועות. So by the שבועות, they're going to bring שתי הלחם, 2 loaves of bread, right, of wheat, not of barley. So the כבשים, they're going to be מפגל את הלחם, the same concept. But the lechem is not going to be mfagel the kivasim. Keitzad, what's the case? השוחט את הכבשים לאכול מהם למחר, הם והלחם מפוגלים. לאכול את הלחם למחר, הלחם מפוגל, והכבשים אינם מפוגלים. Says the Gemara. My tama, what is the reasoning? Why do we say that the pigul by the todah is going to be mefagel also the lechem? So why? Ilema mishum de Rav Kahana. If you're going to tell me it's because of Rav Kahana, the Amar Rav Kahana, but Rav Kahana comes and he says, Minayin lachme todah she'nikru todah, because the lachme todah are also called todah. So if you're going to tell me that the Todah became disqualified, the Lechem, which is also called Todah, becomes disqualified. If you're going to tell me that's the reason, שנאמר, והקריב על זבח התודה חלות מצות ולא בשמן, if so, Ibchanam used to say the same thing the other way around. Meaning, if you're going to tell me that it's a svara and that it's all called Todah, so then that's it. So it works. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. So says the Gemara, no. Halakashya. Lechem is called a Todah. Todah is not called a Lechem. Meaning, the Todah is the general name. And therefore, the Lechem, which is brought with the Todah, is also called a Todah. So the second that the Todah becomes disqualified, the Lechem, which is also called the Todah, becomes disqualified. But when we're talking about now the Todah is never called a Lechem. The Lechem is more specific. So since the Lechem is more specific and it's not the general, not because I made impure or disqualified the Lechem, is it going to affect the Todah. So fine. So it makes sense. Right? Huh?
If I said A equal Todah.
Yeah, so he says, Ela hadiktani. So let's see the next one then. Hakvasim mefaglin et alechem, ve'alechem mefagel hakvasim. So the same concept. Remember, you have the keves. This is a kivsei atzeret. This is on Shavuot. On Shavuot, you bring the keves, which is the sheep, and you're going to bring the two loaves of bread. Shtei alechem. Okay? Now, we said the kvasim is going to be mefaglim et alechem, but the lechem is not going to be mefagel the kvasim. Lechem heichei ashkechan. He says, where do we ever see that the lechem is called kvasim? Meaning, if you're going to tell me that the logic is because when you say Todah includes everything below it, including the bread. So when you say kvasim, where did you ever see that the kvasim includes bread? Because that's what you're saying. Because the exact same thing that you said in the former part of the Mishnah, which is the Reish of the Mishnah, she'atodah mefagelet alechem, and the lechem is not mefagel l'todah. You said the exact same thing, shlamim shos legabei kivsei atzeret. That you said that the keves is going to be mefagel the shtei alechem, and the shtei alechem is not going to be mefagel the kvasim. So it's the same thing. So explain. So says the Gemara, Ela hainu tama. You're right. It's a mistake. Meaning we had a wrong assumption. Our assumption was that when you said Todah encompasses everything, but the lechem does not encompass the Todah. And when you said it doesn't work. So he says, you know what the reason is? Lechem glal Todah. Ve'en Todah glal de lechem. Meaning, what is the cause? The bread is only coming because of the Todah. It's not the opposite. Meaning, what's the ikar and what's the tafel? You know, we're eating foods now, right? What's the ikar? And what's the tafel? What is it? So the basar is the ikar. The korban is the basar. That's the ikar. That's the fundamental. Huh? No. But the korban is always the most important. 1 minute. Even though 1 minute, we're going to see what you're saying. 1 second. We're going to see, doctor. 1 second. The doctor likes to jump. 1 second. So he comes and he says, the lechem are coming because of the todah, and the todah is not coming because of the lechem. Lechem is coming because of the kvasim, and the kvasim are not coming because of the lechem. So therefore, because of that, that is a svara. So it has nothing to do with a generalization and a specification. It has to do with what's the main and what's subordinate. Meaning, what is the main concept? The ikar and the tafel. That's it. That's what it is. So says the Gemara, utzriche. Now, I needed two cases. Did you realize in the Mishnah, we had two cases? We had the case of the Todah and the breads of the Todah, and we had the case of the Kvasim with the Shtei Alechem. Why did I need both cases? If it's the same svara, why do I need both? So says the Gemara, utzricha. If it would have only told you the first case, which was the Todah, by the lechem, it's not going to be mifagel the Todah, because they're completely two korbanot separately to do with pigul, right? Here in the footnotes, he says that it has nothing to do with even with tenufa, right? Remember, tenufa is the waving. So he says that they used to come and take the kivsei atzeret and the lechem, right, with them, right? But they didn't do that with the Todah. Meaning that the Todah and the lechem did not need, right, waving. Right? Sorry, even though they do need waving, they don't need to be waved together. That's the difference. Meaning, the kivsei atzeret and the shtei alechem, right, they're going to also need waving, but, right, do you wave them together or not? He says by the Todah, they're not waved together. And the fact that means even though you have to wave them, but they're not waved together, I would have said shte dinim. It's two different halachot. Why? You're right. You have to wave both of them, and they both come from the same korban and everything else. But they're two different halachot. You wave one, and then you wave another one. Right? משום דלא הוזקקו זה לזה בתנופה. אבל כבשים, but the כבשים דוזקקו זה בזה לתנועה. I would say, כי מפג הלחם, when the lechem becomes פיגול, is also going to be the כבשים as well. So tzricha, that's why I needed both of the cases. Okay? Fine. Next. בא מיני רבי אלעזר מרב. רבי אלעזר comes and asks a question from Rav. השוחט את התודה לאכול כזית ממנו ומלחמה למחר. If a person comes, he does shechita to the korban todah. Now he wants to eat a kazait from it and from its bread for tomorrow, which means that he was thinking about chetzi kazait of the korban and chetzi kazait of the bread. Now one more time, for it to be pigul, you have to think that you want to eat one full kazait lemachar. Here you didn't do one full kazait. You thought of half a kazait of the bread and half a kazait of the korban. Mahu. Do they combine together to make a pigul or not? So li pagule toda lo mibaeli, to make pigul the toda, right? When we're talking about making pigul the toda in itself, I don't have a safek that for sure it's not going to become pigul. Why? It's a kal v'chomer. Hashta kulo milachma lo mipagla. Mimeno milachma mibae. If right now I cannot make a pigul from the lechem, so kal v'chomer I cannot add the lechem to make a pigul, right? Meaning, one more time, if I went and I did the korban normally, and I have in mind I'm going to eat the bread tomorrow, what happens? The pigul is only in the lechem, not on the korban. So it's a kal v'chomer. If the bread cannot make the korban pigul, kal v'chomer that the bread cannot make the korban pigul. If you only thought of half the bread, or half a kazait of the bread, and half the kazait of the thing. So one is the question then, only to make pigul the bread, not to make the pigul the korban. To make pigul korban for sure not. But what about the bread? So he comes and he says, Mi mitzarfa? Are you going to say that it's going to be mitzaref mitoda li pigula lelechem to make a pigul the lechem or not? That's the question. So Elmaleh, so he comes and he says, Af bezo halechem mefugal v'atoda ena mefugelet. Also by this, the lechem is going to be mefugal, and the toda is not going to be mefugelet. So again, the lechem yes, right, and the toda no, which means that just like the machshavav kazait shalem, right, from the todah makes a pigul, so too a chetzi kazait of the todah, right, is going to help to make the, meaning, just like the korban makes pigul the bread, the chetzi kazait of the korban is going to make the pigul the bread when it combines the chetzi kazait of the bread. Okay? So says the Gemara, V'amai, why? Why don't we say kal v'chomer? Lema kal v'chomer. Uma mefagel en mitpagel. הבא לפגל ולא פגל, אין עוד דין שלא יתפגל? This sounds very interesting, very reminding. No? Anybody remembers, doctor? I'm sure you remember. So what is the lashon? We're making kal v'chomer. Uma mefagel, the todah, is the one which is helping to make pigul, correct? Right? The todah is helping to make pigul, right? So therefore he says, and still it in itself does not become pigul. So a balefagel, this guy that's coming to be mifagel, because he's only tzatziruf, velo pigel, and he himself does not become pigul. So obviously it shouldn't be mitzaref to become pigul. So says the Gemara, Umi amrinan kal v'chomer ki'agavna. Do you say the kal v'chomer in such a way? V'atanya, we learned in a Braita, Maaseh be'echad, there was a story with someone, right? Tetvav Amubet, 15b. Shezara karmo shel chavero. That he came and he planted the zraim, he planted with a certain seeds of a kerem, a vineyard of his friend, right? And when they were simadar, which means when they're already ripened, right? Bama asel ifnei chachamim. The chachamim come and they got the story. V'asru et hazraim v'yitiru et gefanim. They said that the zraim are asur and the gefanim are mutar. Now says the Gemara, V'amai, now why? Leima kal v'chomer, we should say it's kal v'chomer. Uma ha'oser eno ne'esar. What is the oser now? The oser is that the gefanim is oser, the zraim. Here we're talking about kilaim. Remember, you're not allowed to have with the gefen other types of produce. So here, umaha oser, which is the gefanim, which they are oser, the zraim, eno ne'esar, they themselves do not become asur. Habale esor, if you want to be oser something else, velo asar, eno din shelo yitaser, so it shouldn't become asur then. So therefore, we don't do such a kal v'chomer. So says the Gemara, Hachiyashta, can you compare both cases? Hatam kanvus veluf asra Torah. There, the rabbis came and they prohibited any type of zra'im, whether it's canvas, loof, whatever it is, they prohibited it, right? Aval shar zra'im, but everything else, midrabanan, it's only midrabanan. Hai David isura, so here that the person went and he did an isur, kansura banan, they made a knas, they made a penalty, a fine. Hai de lo avid isura, the one that didn't do an isur, which is the bala kerem, no kansura banan, they didn't make a penalty. Aval hacha, but over here, leima kal v'chomer. Why don't we just say that there is a kal v'chomer? Meaning like this. The rabbis, many times they're going to come, they're going to give penalties. But when do you give a penalty? To the person that went against the Torah, or the person that went against the rabbis. If a person didn't do anything, so who didn't do anything? Bala Geffen. The owner of the vineyard, right? The Bala Geffen, he didn't do anything. The other guy comes and he starts planting an Isur. Right? Why? Because when he comes and planting, now it makes the Geffen Asur. So the rabbis say, no. So you know what? The Bala Geffen, he's mutar. Everything that he has, all his Gifanim, all his grapes, his vineyard, kosher. So what's the problem? The Zraim. Why did we do that? We made a knas. So since they went against the rabbis, we made a knas. And therefore he says that's why it was going to be asur. But he says, in our case, maybe we make a kavachomer. So says the Gemara, Vika dematnila, but some people have another girsa, that this is going on the kavasim. What does that mean? Meaning, this entire question, that you have chetzi, right? Chetzi kezait basar shel hatodah, vechetzi kezait shel lechem, right? He says that wasn't on the korban todah. The entire question was only on the kivasim. That's what it means. V'ika dematnila. Some people learn this concept on the kivasim. Ba'mine Rabbi Elazar merav. Rabbi Elazar comes and he asks from Rav, hashochet the kivasim lechol men kezait, right? Umilachman. Right? What happens if a person comes and he does a shechita on the kivasim to eat a chetzi kezait of the basar and a chetzi kezait of the lechem? Mahu, what's the halacha? So again, the exact same question, oto she'ela, אבל לא על קורבן תודה ועל לחם, קורבן הכבשי עצרת והלחמים, שתי הלחם. Okay? Yeah, you with me? ליפגעו ליפגעו לכבשים. Okay? He says, ליפגעו לכבשים לא כבעלה. To make the kvasim pigul for sure is not a question. Why? השתה כולו מלחם לא מבין. If the entire thing was from the lechem, it doesn't become pigul. מהנום לחמם. So if you're going to be chetzi, it's a question? For sure not. Once the question is to do with the shtei alechem. Do you say that the chetzi kezait of the basar is mitzaref to the chetzi kezait of the lechem to make the lechem pigul or not? That's the question. So answers the Gemara, Malay, af bezo, also in this case, the lechem mefugal. The lechem is going to be pigul, but not the kvasim. So says the Gemara, why? Say kavachomer. ומה המפגל אינו מתפגל, הבא לפגל ולא פיגל, או נישהו יתפגל? The exact same question, exact same answer, everything, בדיוק אותו דבר, copy and paste. But just now we're putting it on the כבשי עצרת and the שתי הלחם, not on the קורבן תודה and the לחמי תודה. So says the Gemara, ומי אמרינן קו וחומר כהגמנה, כי ניסי such a קו וחומר. והתניא we learned in the ברייתא, מעשה באחד שזרע כרמול של חברו סמדר, עמי, למה קו וחומר? מה האוסר נוסר הבא לאסור ולא אסר לדין שלו יתאסר? So says the Gemara, Yasha, can you compare both cases? He says, Hatam over there, the Torah prohibited only kanvus veluf asra Torah. Everything else is only midrabanan. The person that did the isur drabanan, that's the zore'a, the one that plants it, kansur rabbanan, he gets the fine, the penalty. But the bala kenem that he didn't do any isur, lo kansur rabbanan, they did not do any knas. Aval hacha, but here you're going to say that there is a kal vachomer. So man dematnila todah, the one that learned this question on the korban todah, kol sheken, you could learn it on the kivasim. Because if you're going to tell me the chetzi works, and it's going to make pigul the lechem, kal vachomer on the kvasim, chetzi works to make pigul the shtei lechem. But man dematnila kvasim uzkakul leze letzvunumfa. Aval todah lo uzkakul leze letzvunumfa lo. But remember that todah, you don't have to weigh them together. So since you don't have to wave them together, I would say maybe they're two separate entities. They're two separate, different concepts. Even though you have to do trufa by both, you have to still wave both, but not together. So it's separate. It's two separate entities. Okay? A third girsa. We're going to have now a third version. Rabbi Abba Zuti, Baila Hachi. Rabbi Abba Zuti came and he had the doubt like this. Mahu. What happens if a person is going to do the shechita of the Shavuot in order to eat a kazait mechavero lemachar? Ma what's halacha? What does it mean now, chavero? Chavero is keves mashma. Right? What does that mean? It's talking about the second keves, which he's going to eat from tomorrow. Velo mefagel, and it's not going to be mefagel at all. Or dilmar, maybe it's lechem. And it is going to be pigul. Right? When he says now I'm going to eat chavero, what is chavero? Chavero means it's friend. What does it mean the friend? The other keves or the other breads? Right? That's what I would have thought keves. Samalei tenitua, we learned it. Shachad echa mina kevasim, right? Le'echol mimenu machar. If you did one of the kevasim to eat it for tomorrow, hu pigul v'chavero kasher. It's pigul. But the other one, the other keves hasheni, is going to be kosher. Le'echol mechavero machar. But if you wanted to eat from the other one tomorrow, shneim ksherim. They're both going to be kosher, both of them. Right? Why? Because I wanted to eat from the chavero tomorrow. I didn't do the shechita now. I did the shechita on this one, and I'm going to eat it today. I wanted to eat from the chavero tomorrow. That's fine. So alma chavero is keves is much better keves. So dilma de parish v'amar chavero keves. So he says maybe you're right. Maybe it's a mefurash that he actually said chavero means right the keves, and that's what it actually means. Okay, fine. Next, yeah, Mishnah. Hazevach mefagel et hanesachim mishekatshu bikli. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So we've got now the machshevet pigul. Okay, so the zevach is going to be mfagelet and nesachim. Mishikachu bekli sharet. Once it becomes holy in kli sharet. Divrei Rabbi Meir. These words are Rabbi Meir. Hanesachim. There's a mishnah on Tedvav Amud Bet. Yeah. Hanesachim menam mfaglim et zevach. So the nesachim are not going to be mfagel the zevach. Remember the same idea. One more time. When you bring korbanot, certain korbanot they always had nesachim, wine libations. Right. Nesach is yain. Right. Niske yain. Right. Venisko yain revitaim. Yeah. So he says whenever. So the zevach is going to be mfagelet on nesachim. Right? And the nesachim are not going to be mfagel the zevach. Keitzad, hashochet et zevach le'echol mimenu lemachar, hun nesachim mefulugin. להקריב נסחיו למחר הנסחים מפוגלים, הזבח אינו מפוגל, הצאן מפוגל. תנו רבנן, we learned in the Braita. נזקי בהמה. נזקי בהמה are going to be חייבים עליהם משום פיגול. Right? Why? מפני שדם הזבח מתירן לקרב, דברי רבי מאיר. Because the דם הזבח is going to bring them to become, right, closer. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. אמר לו רבי מאיר, אמרו לו, they told Rabbi Meir, ועלו אדם מביא זבחו היום, ומסחב עד 10 ימים. He says, what are you talking about? You could bring your korban today, but you have 10 days to bring your nesech, right? You've got a lot of time to bring it. So therefore, why would it become pigul? Yeah, you can bring it whenever you want. You've got a few days, no problem. So he comes and he says, right, the Gemara is going to learn from this. So he says, Amar lahen, afani lo amarti ela ba'in ima zevach. You're right. It's the ones which are coming with meaning like this. If you're going to tell me that we're talking about the nesech I'm going to bring later on, inachanami. But what happens if I bring the nesech now? I did bring it now. And now I had in mind something else. That might be a problem. But if I'm not going to come and I'm going to say, okay, I'm bringing the zevach, but when am I going to, the wine, I'm going to do it later on. That there's no problem. Amrulo, they said, if you could even change it for another zevach even. So Amarava Kasav Rabbi Meir b'shchita b'lachmet todah. It has to be that during the time of the shchita, and therefore you cannot change it to something else, just like the lachmet todah. Okay, they're the same thing. That means basically these nesachim are not considered another zevach. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, log shel mitzorah chayvim ala mishum pigul. When you bring the log of the mitzorah, you're also going to be chayav mishum pigul. Because the dama hasham, the blood of the hasham, is going to be matir, the shemen, to be put on the bohens. Bohens is the thumbs. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Amrulo Rabbi Meir, they told Rabbi Meir, v'alo adam mevi hashamo hayom ve'lo go become. He says, what? You don't have to bring it at the same time. You could bring it at a little later time as well. Amar lahen, afani, well, you're right. But if you already brought it, afani lo amarti elaba ima hasham. If it's mamash coming with the hasham, so he says you could change it to something else. So Amarava kasav Rabbi Meir, you learn from here that Rabbi Meir holds. Sheukba b'shchita, the second that it's going to be hukba during the time of the shchita, you cannot change it to something else, just like lachmet todah. Meaning, the second that you designate it and you're doing it right now, that's it. You don't have you can't start changing it to something else. If you're doing it right now, if you're going to do it later on, you do it later on. You've got 10 days. You got whatever it is. That's fine. But the second that you actually changed it, that's it.